Well, that was a gut punch. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Episode 9 of Shogun, called Crimson Sky. Let's get over the obvious. Yes, this is late. More than a week, more than 2 weeks late. Unfortunately for me, life happened. And the personal matters that I had to deal with and be with family took me away. So I have not seen the episodes. I've not seen episode 10 yet. I'm coming into this with just having seen episode 9. And I was able to, because my head was in the sand with dealing with personal stuff, I was able to not get spoiled or have any information about either of these episodes. So if you happen to still have been waiting for me to discuss episode 9 and then subsequently episode 10, I appreciate you. Thank you. Love you guys. And let's get to it. 9 of Crimson Sky is probably for me, the best episode of the season. As the character that I probably most attached to is Mariko, because of the conflict that she's going through within herself, with both her religion and her revenge and her just sort of place or loyalty in life. Add on to that she has a thing for Blackthorn. It just created this just rich character that we get to see on full display in this episode. Toranaga's off the board. He's gone. This episode all takes place in Osaka, and is a lot of the mission that Mariko was placed on to continue her loyalty towards Toranaga. We do start this episode off with a bit of a look back in Mariko's past, about 14 years before she's pregnant, so her kid's not around, but she's pregnant. And she keeps attempting to run away from her village, trying to get away from her lot in life. She keeps being recaptured over and over and over again, but she keeps trying to escape. And our priest, who we see in the future, comes to one of these times when she tries to escape and gives her a rosary with a cross and says, you have a greater purpose in life than to just keep doing this. Your life's not about revenge. Your life's not about this. You should take God into your life. And I think you'll find a bigger purpose. So this is where we see her attachment to the Christian faith. I think this happens a lot in just life when people are sad, lonely, angry. They seek out a higher power to sort of talk to and give them a little bit of guidance. And I think that's what happens with this priest and Mariko in this moment. And so she puts on the rosary, which becomes a pretty big symbol piece during this episode. Flash forward to the present day. Yabu, Blackthorn, and Mariko are arriving to Osaka. Yabu wants Blackthorn to meet with him with Ishido tomorrow. Now, mind you, he's saying this in his native language, so trying to tell Mariko, hey, don't sit this one out. He understands enough of this that I can get the key points out to it, but he also doesn't understand enough of it where I can pull the wool over his eyes, and he has no idea what's happening in the room. But Yabu is playing on the fact that he thinks that Blackthorn and he have a connection, so Yabu's going to sort of use this to the best of his abilities, and be damned. Yabu is probably, I've said this before, he's like the Iago. He's playing all sides. Self-interest is his most important thing. And I think it sort of rears its ugly head in this episode to a point where I think it does sort of slap him in the face that, okay, maybe self-interest isn't the way to go. But we'll get there. The priests see that the boat has arrived with Blackthorn, Mariko, and Yabu, and they are kind of questioning. The priest that was with Toranaga, who saw everything and saw how weak and defeated Toranaga appeared, was saying that, look, he's defeated. This is the end. Where the lead priest is saying, nah, something's up. He's not going to be sending Blackthorn in here to do his bidding. Like, something is off with this. He's still fighting. He, I think, so much as claims it as the tempest in the bottle. Like he's sending these people here sort of under a decree of surrender, but there's something a brewing. Whereas the other priest is kind of like, nah, everything's good. They're laying a sword on the ground. We got them. Probably the only other moment in this episode is that Blackthorn and Yabu having a conversation about how to bow and to do it properly, and he gets him set right before they go to meet Ishido. The problem is Rico's not present, so he's walking into these negotiations with zero idea of what the hell is being said. But he is in the garb, he's doing the bowing, but Yabu's the lead. Yabu's the one talking. And if anybody has seen any of these episodes, Blackthorn not really knowing because he doesn't quite understand what he's saying. But Yabu is not the person you want to have negotiating on your behalf. Because, once again, self-interest always pops up. So he goes into Ishido, and Ishido's saying, hey, you brought this thing in here, and then you are a coward who have put your allegiance to Toranaga. And it's at that point that Yabu's like, oh, real quick, I brought this guy with me. He's a gift. I'm giving this man to you. Give me reprieve. And he's like, nah, we way past that point with you. That ain't happening. Because he's like, this is Toranaga's Hadmato. You want him. This is his right hand. If you take him, yeah, you could kill me. You could do that. But look what I did. I brought him. And the shooter's like, nah, I don't care. So they get dismissed. Then they bring in Mariko, who has her moment to speak to the council and speak to Ishido, and Lady Ochiba is there as well. Mind you, we have the entire episode where we've seen that Lady Ochiba and Mariko have connection. They grew up pretty much like best friends / sisters when they were young, despite their families not quite getting along. Lady Ochiba has taken Ishido up on his engagement offer, and so she is She is not nearly as strong as she had appeared in the few episodes that she came in. She has sort of given up her power dynamic as she now being engaged to Ishido as sort of answers through to him. So she's essentially silent through these. But they ask where Toranaga is, and they're like, well, he's mourning his son. Ishido says probably the coldest line that I've heard in quite some time. But he's like, yeah, he's got more. Like, doesn't bat an eye. And you see that almost knocks, for a brief moment, that almost knocks Mariko off her center. She's kind of like, oh, this mother. Oh, hold on. Let me get my stuff back together. Let me go ahead and do what I'm supposed to be doing here. It's at this point on that Anna Sawai, the actress who plays Mariko, puts on a freaking masterclass, acting wise. Like, she is one of the most. She's already has been one of the most captivating pieces of this series. But my God, this episode is insanity. But while she is here on the council, she is informing the council that she's leaving tomorrow with Lady Shizu and Toranaga's baby son that he has not yet seen, because since he's been banished, they've been here. He hasn't been able to see him. He wants to see him before he gives himself up to Ishido. She says, like, I want to take him to them, and then Toranaga and I will return at the due date that he's supposed to return to. And Ishido's like, well, that's a couple of days. Like, why are we playing this game? No. He also doesn't like the disrespect that Mariko is giving in this moment. Because Mariko is kind of like, this is what I'm doing, not sort of asking permission. But remember, everybody here is being held hostage, though they're not being told that they're being held hostage. And even Lady Ochiba's seniored madam, if you will, the mother of the home who brought her in to bear heirs, when she passed, she was like, hey, look, real quick, lose these hostages. Like that has to go. Like, you should not be having hostages. So this, what was once believed to be more of what I thought was, anyway, more Lady Ochiba's idea, it feels like she probably put that seed in the head, but let's realize this has gone too far. Now Ishido is sort of running with it. And so I don't think there's something it doesn't appear that Lady Ochiba wants to have hostages. She wants to let them go, but she's now at the mercy of merging houses, merging royalties and factions, and joining with Ishido. So doing whatever he says. And Mariko is still pushing that button. Like, no. Nobody here is a hostage, right? Like, we can just roll out whenever we want to. Correct? I'm not mistaken in that. to that point that Ishido's like, look, you talking way out of tongue, so we're gonna have to review this with the council. So you're not allowed to leave until we review this and we give you the orders that you can. And she's like, cool. Nah, that don't work for me. My allegiances lie to Toranaga, and since I'm not being held hostage, I'm gonna just dip out tomorrow. And there's really nothing you can do about this because you said I'm free to go at my will, correct? And then she says, I don't own any loyalty to you. I am a child of a lord. I am a child of samurai. So I'm not a captive or a prisoner. I can leave. I'm a free girl and I can leave whenever I want to. Well, damn, that's I nothing in my brain says she's in a position of power, but she sure as hell is acting like it. Which we learn that she has gone in here sort of knowing that she is going to do one or two things. She's either going to be a martyr, or she's going to get her point across and weaken whatever it is that Ishido and them have going on. When they get dismissed, Yabu and Blackthorn has no idea what's being said. But Yabu is not fully abreast of what the hell Toranaga's plan is. He goes to Mariko, is like, what the hell? What are you doing? Like, you are being mad disrespectful. To the point where he is getting more onto the end of his self-interest because he's like, I don't want to be associated with this. Like, what are you doing? Like, either let me in on the plan or I got to come and kind of go with my own path. Several people come to have a conversation with Mariko. Yabu was first, more so for self-interest pieces. Blackthorn even's like, what exactly are you doing? Like, what is the plan here? And Mariko says, like, well, the point is to prove that the guards here are holding lords and as hostages and sort of trying to prove a point. But to that point that Blackthorn's like, well, you will walk into a blade that is sharp just to prove that it's sharp. And that's essentially what Mariko's doing. Like, she's walked into the hornet's nest knowing that these hornets sting, but hopefully she either A, gets stung so she can prove that, hey, that's what they're doing, they're stinging, or she's going to get free and say, nah, we're good. Everything's fine. They're not as strong or hold as much weight as they do. It's at this point that Mariko requests and sort of begs of Blackthorn to not get involved. She's like, whatever I'm about to do, whatever I do, whatever you see happen, do not get involved. He very much would. What happens in the next sequence, Blackthorn, if he was not given this decree by her, because of the relationship, that how much he does love her and how much she loves him, he would have jumped at the chance to sort of help her. Mariko's son comes to talk to her about leaving. And it's like, nah, don't do this. This is a terrible idea. And everyone is speaking on you and what you like and what you're doing. He's sort of alluding, but not really getting to the fact that the world sort of knows that she is more involved with Blackthorn than she would be with his father. He doesn't come out outright to say it, but he's like, yeah, people whispering, and I got to deal with all this, and this is a mess, and everything you're doing, all this coming in here and just sort of pissing in the face of Ishido, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And stop it now. Like, you don't have to go on this walk. You don't have to take these people back to Toranaga. If you leave, you're going to be further disgraced, and furthermore, you don't have to call me son anymore. I'm no longer that to you. And Mariko starts tearing up a little bit, but she is steadfast in what she has to do. She knows this is the way that she has to do things. Be damned if it affects Yabu and his self-interest, Blackthorn and her love for him, or her love and her connection to her son. All those things don't truly matter for what the mission is at hand. It should show you how dedicated Toranaga's second in command was to know that he had to kill himself in front of everybody to sort of move that next piece along. So death, or the seeking of death, or the option of death, is not always final for these folks. Sometimes it's a flicker of flame to the match to get on to the next piece of it. This next sequence is phenomenal to watch. Probably the best sequence in the entire series. I feel like this show does the the triplets thing that most comedies do, where you do things 3 times for the joke. Just this time, it presents 3 levels of danger or death to Mariko, until it is so we get to the end. The procession is Mariko, samurai guards, and then Tornaga's son and wife, and her aide. Those are the folks that are in this procession, and they're trying to walk out to the gates to get out of Osaka to make their passage to where Tornaga is. There are guards. There are people on looking above on the upper level. Blackthorn and Yabu being 2 of them, as well as guards. Kiyama and Ono, the other 2 of the other regents in the group with Bushido, they're present and watching. It's important to know Kiyama specifically. But they're approaching the door. It seems like they're good, and all of a sudden, guards come out, and 2 of them sort of lead out and approach. And Mariko's like, "You got to allow me through. I've been told that there's nothing that's preventing me here. Allow me to pass." At those point, that the 2 guards let her know that Ishido was passing an order that you have to have a permit to leave this. Like, I'm not holding you here. You have to have a permit that is approved and signed by us to allow you to do so. It is at that point that Mariko asks again, is like, "Are you not allowing me to pass?" And they're like, "You cannot pass without a permit." So then she orders her samurais to kill those 2. They do, very quickly and quite violently. They then step forward a little bit more, and more guards show up. When those other guards show up, Mariko speaks out to Ono and Kiyama, and it's like, "Hey, what the heck are we doing? I was told that we were allowed to have passage. This doesn't look like that's being allowed." And so at that point, they were like, "We don't have any power. We don't have any power right now. We're not able to do this. I'm sorry. We will call a meeting tomorrow to sort of get this out." But that's not good enough. That's not what she needs to hear in this moment. So Mariko continues to step forward a little bit. Now, mind you, now as she's stepping forward, there are arrows being shot at her feet to shake her nerve, to make her uneasy, make her question what she is doing. So at that point, you see Blackthorn wanting to go make that move to go protect his girl, but she has sort of given him that order, like, "No, stand down." But those arrows are making it there. Mind you, she is not batting an eye. She is steel focused and 100% set on doing what it is she's supposed to be doing. It's at that point that I believe her samurai are taken out, and it's just her present. And then she starts fighting back, and she hangs in there for a little bit because we've learned that she is trained in this manner. But then she falls and fails, and it's at that point she says, "All right, if we must go back, if I cannot pass, then I have failed. Because I have failed at sunset, I'm going to commit seppuku. I need to go ahead and kill myself." Lord Kiyama, who is of the same religion and faith as she, knows she talks to him. It's like, "Hey, it's a mortal sin to take my own life, and so I would like you to be my second." And being that he's a Christian, he knows that he doesn't really have. There's no choice in that matter. He's like, he doesn't respond, doesn't say yes or no, but he's like, "Okay, I mean, what are we doing?" And it's now starting to sort of set in. Like, is she going to do this? Like, is she that steadfast in her belief to go ahead and continue to go ahead and do this? And then Shido's like, she's bluffing. Lady Oshiba's like, "Nah, I'm gonna be honest with you. She's telling the truth. She will follow through with this because she has been burdened so long with the idea that she either has to have revenge or take her own life for purpose, that this is the point of no return for her. Like, she's going to continue to do this to prove a point. She will. However, she's kind of got you by the balls. If you let her leave, you will appear weak. You will appear not to know what you're doing. We will lose sort of her stronghold. If you allow her to kill herself, she will be a martyr, which I said earlier. and you will thus prove her point. And these people may start rebelling, and you will come off as a monster. And I don't know. You're already sort of the lord and dictator, and they're following you because of these rules. But if you take these rules and sort of throw them out the window, you're putting us in a sort of a precarious position. So Ochiba calls a meeting with well, she calls a meeting with Blackthorn. The heir of Ochiba calls a meeting with Blackthorn, but it's really a ruse to speak to Mariko. She asks for a translator to come, and then pretty much shuts Blackthorn out of the conversation. She really wants to have a one-on-one conversation with Mariko, but she can't call Mariko directly because then that word would sort of get out in the town, and Ishida would be like, "Well, why are you talking to her?" She still has to hide under a veil of secrecy, but she wants to talk to Mariko because they do have a connection, and they begin to speak in Japanese. Even though Toranaga knows some things, some canned phrases, as Ochiba would say, she asked Mariko to stop these games. Like, stop playing these games. Please just stand down. We get it. Just stop. She also asked Mariko to sort of translate to Blackthorn how close they were as kids. And she does a little bit of it and tells them like we were like sisters, we were inseparable, but we were from different houses. Our fathers hated each other. Ochiba tells Mariko that she was her happiness until she was sent away. Like, Mariko brought so much joy. Like, she had a fierceness and a power to her that was sort of unmatched, and she always sort of loved to see that, have that be a part of her. But Mariko's like, cool, cool, cool. Only you can stop these games that you claim that I'm playing. Like, I'm at the point of no return. I can't do anything. You have the power to stop this. And to which Ochiba says, I don't have that power. I think she did until this engagement, and that sort of has set her down a level where she has to answer to Ishido. Mariko starts spitting some of that hot fire. Accepting death isn't surrender. Flowers are only flowers because they fall. Okay, sure. Yeah, that works. That works. Blackthorn has a combo with Mariko and sort of is putting his sword ahead. And so we've seen Yabu come out and say, hey, what are you doing? Give me more information. You've seen her son come to say, please stop doing this. You're going to disgrace me and the family. And now you've seen Blackthorn sort of put his heart on his sleeve and say, look, will you do this for me? Like, I love you, and I feel like you love me too. Will you consider living for me? And remember, this is a man who has questioned the rules of engagement that the Japanese culture partake in. He's just like, none of this makes sense. You guys are doing all of these because of a decree or some set of morals or some set of rules that you guys have set in place, but none of this really matters or means anything. You guys murdered a man because I had a pheasant on my front door that I asked to no one to be touched, or they will be killed, and that was said in jest, and you guys followed through. I don't understand these rules. Please just stay with me. Just touches his hand, holds it affectionately, and then just walks off. No matter what is said here, I can't give up my mission. While she is madly in love, and for the first time she has somebody who sees her for her and wants her to sort of do all these things, but all of that doesn't matter at the loyalty to Toranaga. A courier or messenger comes to Yabu and says, all right, look, Shido is willing to give you some offer of service instead of death. Sort of give you a reprieve. Put on one account. You have to do something. It's interesting. I've not read the books, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe my book readers can tell me. I feel like the book would have probably told you at that moment exactly what it is that was being requested. I love that this show, and if it hasn't, good on the book read on the author. This show does a good job of putting that in a note, and then we don't see it till a little bit later as to what exactly Yabu is being asked to do, because it comes at a point in time where things sort of seem like, we may have found our way out of this. We haven't. Mariko, before her time of killing herself, goes to the priest and says, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I've sinned a lot. But I cannot fully confess as I'm not worthy enough to confess." And I don't know if this is more so, there's a lot going on with her. This is sort of a lot about the triality, if you will, of Mariko, with her faith, with her loyalty to Tornaga, and then with her love for Blackthorn. I don't know if the sinning is the reference to what she did with the engine. I don't know if that's what she's talking about. It feels like that's a piece of it, but also I feel like some of these other things, like having so much anger in her heart, probably is another piece of that. But priest sits there and prays with her as she goes to her death. She gets all set up. There's a crowd sort of watching. It's interesting. I didn't realize, maybe it's because it's the first time that it was somebody who was not requested, but this time the suicide is done in front of people, but then they close the door. They close the door so that no one actually sees it except for the person who is supposed to be the second. I don't know if that's a rule or if it's something that they do in this particular village or if it's something that's happened with women, because we have not seen, it's been mostly men that have committed this before. But most of the time they have done that in the immediate. I think this is a whole, I'm doing this at sundown. And so there's a whole ceremony that goes to it. Not all that being said, Mariko searches for her second, Yama, and Lord, he's not coming. He didn't answer. He does not show up. Probably because Ishido has told him to stand down. And so it's in this moment that Mariko, for the first time, shows some weakness because she feels like she has to do this alone. And this is going to hurt. Like, it's going to be a more painful thing because she's doing this and then has to suffer through that. So she realized that this is now going to be a bit more, and there's nobody really out there to help. My heart broke because at this point, that's when Blackthorn steps forward and says, and takes a sword and says, "I'll be your second." And you can see the look in his eyes. You can see the look in her eyes. One, it's a look of, I don't want you to have to do this because I know how much you love me, but it's also thank you for believing in this, for you mumbo jumbo enough through me that you're willing to do this for me. And he takes a sword and he is definitely devastated. He's holding his breath, but he knows I don't want her to suffer in this, so I'm gonna do it. She does look back and say, "Hey, make sure that I'm completely gone before you take the head off. Like, give me that moment." He doesn't respond, but he gives her that assurance. She is about to take that life. She's about to do it. Then the doors open back up and Ishido comes in and she throws a permit down and grants them the passage to leave while belittling them, calling this whole act of whatever the hell it is you're doing disgusting. And then he leaves. The big sigh of relief for both Mariko and for Engine Blackthorn. Like, they both kind of like, Jesus Christ, we came right down to the wire. So that's twice in this episode that Mariko has sort of cheated death. One in the passage to try to exit Osaka, and the other now. She doesn't have to go with taking her own life. That night, Mariko is kind of praying and getting her stuff together, and Blackthorn just come up in that room. It's like, "No, I'm gonna get some of this. Like, hey, I'm gonna make love." And I get it. After almost taking the love of your life's life, yeah, I'm gonna need to get up in there because I got a lot of frustration and energy that I need to go ahead and let out. And so for the first time, it's very different than the previous one where Mariko kind of snuck in and did everything sort of in the shadows and didn't really let on, even though they both knew. This was more of like, I'm looking you in the eye, you're looking me in the eye, lights are on as much as they can be. It's still pretty relatively dark. And they get it on. And nothing like a good foreshadowing that feels like everything is okay. but it's not. Yabu's request that was given to him from Ishido was to remove the people on watch that were there on their behalf on watch, so that the shinobi can come in and just wreck shop and murder everyone. Um, Specifically Mariko, that's where we're going to get to, but they want to kill everyone, but make it look like it was an outside force. It was a shinobi who came and did it. It wasn't anybody within. Ishido didn't give this decree. Someone else came in to murder. And so he can sort of still get off clean. Like, nope, I gave her her permit, and then, oh crap, the shinobi showed up. It feels like in this, it's like Mariko and Blackthorn wake up, see the shinobi, and they kill, and they're able to sort of escape in that moment. They meet up with Yabu, and Yabu, it feels like Yabu's trying to get them to go one way. They're trying to go another. I can't tell if the way that Yabu and them are trying to get, if he's trying to get them to a place where he knows the shinobi or not, because he plays back and forth. But I don't think he wants to actually harm Mariko. Blackthorn, he can go with it either way, but I don't think he wants to harm Mariko. So he's still trying to get them out. And mind you, Lady Tornaga's wife and kid are in this procession as well. But they end up making their way into the cannon room, where there's no real way out. They wound up getting surrounded. They're coming in. They're about to blow open the door. Blackthorn is desperately trying to put stuff in front of the door, like push stuff in front of the door for barricade, but nobody's helping him, and it's too hard for him to do it. Mariko's not helping. Yabu's not helping. He's kind of like, somebody give me an assistance. Mariko at that point says, nah, this is the time. Like, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm supposed to do. Mariko at that point puts herself in front of the door right before the blast happens, and then we see her get blasted to holy hell. It's important to know right before that blow happens, you see a moment of pain and or fear in Yabu's eyes. Blackthorn was already there. He didn't want to see her get harmed or killed. But Yabu seemed to be having a little bit of second thoughts about what he has sort of done to put her in this situation. That's how the episode ends. There's a threes, triplets, if you will. Third time she does end up with her life taken. Again, I'll say this. Limited series, you can do whatever the hell you want to, because these characters don't have to exist for longer than their shelf life if they don't have a story. This was the story that Mariko always had to have from the very beginning. She has sort of been the moral compass, even though there's a lot of things that have been happening within her during the series. She has been the moral compass, and in this episode, it is a powerful one that Toranaga takes a step back and just watch Anna as Mariko work, from the procession through Osaka to leave, to go out the gates, from the moments, the things that she can say with her eyes with Blackthorn when no one's there for her, to go through her taking her own life to give her that aid, to her just having this moment just wash over. She is completely calm going to that door and getting that blast. Like, no, this is what I gotta do. Like, this is it. Everybody else in that room's freaking out. She's fine. It is going to be interesting to see what happens, the ramification that occurs from this. I feel like Toranaga sort of knew that this was going to be, these were the only options, and Mariko knew that as well. Blackthorn and Yabu did not, because they were not aware of what was going on. So their past, I feel like Toranaga knows that Blackthorn was in love with Mariko. He knows that's going to set him on one path. And I think as much of a back and forth, looking out for yourself that Yabu does, there was something in that he was like, I didn't want her to die. Of all the people here that I respected her. And so now, what does he do in response, knowing that Ishido has sort of set this trap up? Or does he finally give in and say, yo, Ishido, I'm with you now? I'm excited to see what the final episode does. I've not watched it yet, so I know this is late, but I'm going to go, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to upload this, edit this, and then I'm going to go watch the other one and then do that one right back behind it. So there'll be two of these today, just to catch everybody up. For people who care what I have to say about anything, I appreciate you guys. Powerful episode, and I do hope that when the time comes for limited series award nominations, you are on there. because chef's kiss. Well done. If you haven't already, you can follow me on Twitter or X at at Hollywood80. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDid@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.